Welcome to another NJ Thrives Thursday webinar. We host these every Thursday at 12 p.m. And actually, I believe it's next week, we start our NJ Thrives Tuesdays. So I'm your host, Christian Pichardo, NJSBDC marketing consultant and CEO at nilumamedia.com. And if you're not familiar, if you've never been to one of our webinars, these are hosted by the NJSBDC, America's New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network. And we're a statewide program that's powered by the SBA and partners. We help small businesses in New Jersey with no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, and exclusive small business resources. So that said, today's agenda, we have a couple headlines. We'll dive into the webinar, and then at the end, we'll take questions. So there's not many new programs for small business, really. It's pretty much the same programs that we've had for the past year or two, with just some updates or more additional funding going towards those programs. We do have something new from NJDA that they haven't announced that's for 2022, but it's not ready yet. And I talked a little bit about that before last week, but here are some sites where you can go to find out what is available right now. So on this page on njeda.com/financing and incentives, you'll see the programs down here that they currently have out there. So of course you have to click through all of these individually and see which ones are still accepting applications or not. But these are all the programs that NJEDA is offering, as well as here's a link for SBA funding programs. So this is the main site where you can get all this information from. And keep in mind, if your business, if you're qualified, if your business is 2 years plus, you're absolutely ready to get financing. You have all your documents together, great credit score, all that stuff. We have a team that could help you. It's called the Capital Team. So if you have any questions over that, we'd love for you to ask them. Just email capitalteam@njsbdc.com, or I believe it's capital.team@njsbdc.com. We're going to have our webinar assistant drop the exact email into the chat now, so that you guys could have that and ask any questions that you have about loans, grants, what have you for your business. But the real exciting thing that's happening next week is Small Business Saturday. As you know, the day after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's on the 27th. So that's a Friday. So Small Business Saturday is right after Thanksgiving, right after Black Friday. And that's when we try to have people go out and shop small, right? So Amex does a national campaign every single year. And I think there's a lot of resources here that could help you as a small business owner, get more business on that weekend, right? You have Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday. So here you have some materials that Amex shares. Here you can put yourself on the Shop Small map that Amex has. And also, which I think is super cool, is there's offers that Amex has partnered with several people to give certain discounts and things like that to small business owners. You'll see you get $150 credit with Google, Pinterest gives you some money. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on this page, and we're dropping all the links into the chat for all this information. So that said, 3 things to keep in mind during the webinar. Type in your questions into the Q&A box so that your question doesn't get lost within the chat conversations. The Q&A box is the toolbar at the bottom. You'll see Q&A. You can ask questions there as yourself or anonymously. Number two is you're going to get redirected to a survey right after you finish this webinar. It takes 3 minutes, but after you complete it, you'll get access to this recording and the materials of this presentation. And number three, just by joining this event, you're eligible for the Upgrade Your Business certificate. More info on that at the link there. So now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Rafael Mata. He's an NJSBDC senior consultant, a general inside joke. And this is getting your small business procurement ready. And this is part two. So we had part one several weeks ago. That's on our YouTube channel. You could check that out later. This is part two. So yeah, welcome, Rafael.
Thank you very much, Christian. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like to welcome everyone. As Christian mentioned, this is part two of a two-part series. Before I start to talk about certification and monetizing the certification, I would like to take this opportunity to let everyone know that we will be starting our first certification application walkthrough, which will be done via Zoom for select businesses on December 2nd. And with enough interest, we're looking to do this every month or every other month. So as you're looking or watching this webinar and you look at part one and part two, keep in mind that watching both of these webinars will give you all the information that you need to not only be procurement ready and look for new contracts, but to successfully get certified with the Department of Treasury in the state of New Jersey. So you are killing two birds with one stone. We're a very action-oriented group. I'm part of the capital team. I'm a specialty consultant. I've been doing procurement, government procurement, private sector procurement, government navigation for close to 20 years. I've pretty much seen it all, although in the pandemic, I can definitely tell you I've seen some pretty interesting things. So what we'll attempt to do is get through this presentation as quickly as possible so that everyone has an opportunity to ask some questions or specific questions that I may have not covered or require additional clarifications. So first order of business is going to be our discussion topics. So what are you going to learn today? What are we going to cover today after we finish this, I guess, high altitude view of what being procurement ready is? You're gonna find out, should I certify or should I not get certified? What's the benefit of getting certified? We know that a lot of times you're consulted or advised to get your certifications. This webinar is going to be aimed at talking about what you do after you get your certification. And for those who were part of the first part of this webinar, I did make a joke about getting certifications are not for your mom. They're not interested in putting it in the hallway. You know, you're not going to get special accolades just for having the paper. We're all getting certified for a reason, for resources or for contracts. We'll talk about the different certification types. We'll talk a little bit about understanding diversity goals and how it affects you. Diversity is something that's not going to go away. Some people are very happy about it. Some people are not. This is a very diverse country. Diversity and inclusion is something that is here to stay. Who's your customer now when you get these certifications? The key differences between private sector and public sector procurement opportunities. And when I say the word procurement, for those who were not able to watch the prior webinar, we're really talking about RFPs, quotes, the process by which an entity procures or purchases your goods or services is procurement. And finally, we're going to definitely cover certification as a procurement strategy. That is the last discussion topic. It's also the most important one. It is 2021. We're coming into the month of December. This is a perfect time to start to think about what your certification strategy is going to be for next year. And you'll see what I mean shortly as we go through this presentation. So what do certifications do? They open the door to new markets. Ultimately, that's what you're looking to do. You want new customers and new markets. These certifications are going to create opportunities where You're going to get special procurement opportunities, which are called set-asides and other different words that we'll talk about in a little bit. You're going to access new business networks. That means you're going to get invited to events. You're going to network with people that otherwise you wouldn't have access to without that certification status. And ultimately, special resources and programs. What does that mean? With all of the pandemic resources that we've been getting, the investments in the infrastructure, let me give you a very concrete example. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority is at this time providing vouchers for any logistical company or company that has vehicles and is looking to transition to full electric vehicles. The state of New Jersey is providing vouchers. If you are certified, you qualify for a higher dollar amount in vouchers. That can only be done by going through the certification process and securing that. And what is certification? It's the action or process of providing someone or something with an official document attesting to the status or level of your achievement or your category. In this case, the state of New Jersey recognizes minority status, woman-owned business status, veteran status, and small business status. There's a lesser amount of disabled veteran-owned businesses that can also be done through the state of New Jersey. Important part, so we have two sides of the same coin. You have certification, and then with the certification, you want to start to educate yourself about what are set-asides and diversity goals. Okay, the words set-aside and supplier diversity are synonymous. Most of the time, supplier diversity is used in the private sector, and the word set aside is used in government. Although you will see them used interchangeably, it is really up to the organization what term they want to use. It is the same concept. It is essentially creating a mechanism by which contracts can be dispersed based on your designation as minority, women, veteran, or small. So you'll see in this slide that a set aside is a portion of funds or resources reserved for a particular purpose, whereas diversity spending goals or supplier diversity is a procurement practice that involves purchasing goods and services from underrepresented businesses. And for those that are concerned sometimes with a minority status being the only factor for somebody getting a contract, I can attest and tell you that that is not the case. These certifications provide an advantage. You still have to provide a bona fide service. You still have to be the best of the best in your area. You still have to be priced properly in order to secure a contract. The certification does not overrule the quality of your service or your pricing. What it does do is it eliminates competition. In certain instances, maybe you sell paint. These certifications and programs would put you in a situation where you're not competing with a Sherwin-Williams or a Home Depot or Lowe's, and actually gives you an opportunity and a shot to get that. You'll see the two bullets there, tier 1 and tier 2 spending. It's very important to understand, especially in the private sector. This also happens in the government sector. These are terms that you should learn. Tier 1 means that you are the lead contracted agency, and therefore you're getting the lion's share of the funds. We'd all love the lion's share of the funds. However, if you are new to certification and you're not sure you have that level of capacity to deliver a $5 million project, a $3 million project, even a $1 million project, then what you want to do is try to position yourself for tier 2 spending, which is subcontract opportunities. So tier 1, you are the direct contractor with a government agency or private sector, maybe a large pharmaceutical company or something of that sort. You would need a substantial track record. You would need the capacity to be able to deliver the services, and you need the credit lines, the staff, everything. Tier 2 is a little more forgiving, but of course the contracts are also smaller than what you would expect with tier 1. So here's a nice snapshot in this slide of diversity opportunities in New Jersey. So you'll see here the state of New Jersey currently has a small business enterprise set aside. That's your SBE. Our current chief diversity officer who has now been reelected under this administration, has been working for the last 4 years to reestablish a set aside at the state level. We anticipate that to happen soon. So these certifications will give you access to even further funding on the state level in the billions. This slide gives you a good idea of how you locate diverse suppliers or how diverse suppliers are located. So this is from the perspective of people purchasing your service and goods. Where do they go to find you? All right. So the state has a 25% set aside. Counties, specifically Hudson, Bergen, Mercer, and Essex, have a 10% set aside program, meaning 10% of all goods and services must go to minority, women, veteran, and small businesses. They have offices directed to this. They have resources directed to this, and the directors of all the departments are coordinating through those offices by ordinance. So this is legal. Corporations have begun to embrace diversity spending goals as community engagement and corporate citizenship practice. It's going a little bit beyond corporate citizenship. Perfect example is if anyone has seen lately the commercials that Disney is putting out for the Hispanic themed cartoon. I believe they're Colombian. There's a Filipino one. There are different nationalities being represented. This is not by accident. Private companies are understanding that they need to speak the language of the consumers, and that will lead to profits because their markets will grow. You're going to see a lot more opportunities coming out for your services based on these same strategies. It is a good corporate citizenship thing to do, but you're going to see a lot of traction on this because it's also a good way to increase profits. So when people are when a government entity or a corporation is looking for certified businesses, this shows the percentages by which they secure most of those businesses. So when you get certified, those certifying agencies have databases. They really have team members and efforts that they make to make sure that people who are spending in those categories have the most current list of suppliers. So you'll see 72.2% of all businesses that secure contracts are usually doing that through a certification agency who is providing that information. Third-party providers, that's a lot of what people spend on, these bid match sort of software platforms. I'm not encouraging anyone to sign up for those. It is an option. I won't say that it's the most successful option, but you'll see that approximately 51% of these businesses are using these platforms to find certified businesses. Keep in mind, certifying agencies are providing that for free to those businesses. Third-party providers are charging for that, so it's not as encouraging. Google search, you'll see, is probably the least effective. Just going on and just saying, "Hey, ABC company, are they certified?" is usually not the best way, and that's because you can very easily proclaim yourself as a woman-owned business on your website. Google will use its various algorithms. Maybe it'll pull it from your website or some other marketing material, but you're not in fact certified and you have not gone through the process. Keep in mind that you may be a minority or woman or veteran that owns a business, but if you did not go through the process, then you are not actually a certified business and you cannot access any of those resources or contract opportunities. Once you're certified, who are your customers? This is the biggest question that we get at the Capital team. People usually get very excited when they complete their certification, but then about 2-3 weeks later, once the excitement kind of subsides, everybody starts to say, well, what do we do with this thing? I haven't gotten any emails. Where are all these opportunities that they're talking about?
You still got to work.
Yeah, this is, you got to work for them. It is just another tool for you to try to pursue additional opportunities. You still have to put the work in. You still have to have a certification strategy, which is what we mentioned earlier. It is definitely paramount that you have a strategy, and you'll see very quickly why. If you wanted government to be your client or your new customer, know that in the state of New Jersey, there are 46 departments, authorities, and commissions. Each of them have budgets that range from $50 to $500 million per year. That's a lot of doors already by itself. Keep in mind that a department can have numerous divisions. These are all touch points that you want to try to identify for your business and service. In the state of New Jersey, we have 21 counties. Each of them has a county executive or some other legislative body that governs them. They have budgets. They have goals that they need to meet that year. They are potentially your customer. You would have to reach out to them individually. There is no way to send out a mass email to all 21 counties and they're all going to line up to purchase your stuff. Imagine them the same way you would imagine it in the private sector. Just because two stores are next to each other, you wouldn't assume that you walk into one store and give them your pitch and that that person will automatically communicate that to the person next door. That's never going to happen. In addition to that, to further, scare you all away, New Jersey has 565 municipalities. They have their own budget. They have their own purchasing agent. They have their own portals. Some people are interested in school districts. Well, there's 691 of those in New Jersey. They have their own budgets. They have their own purchasing protocol. They have all of that. And of course, people don't think of it. There's 100 cities in New Jersey that you can also communicate with. And some of the ones we always talk about is Jersey City and Newark, but there's also Patterson. There's also Hackensack, which is almost like a city. So just there alone, you can just add up all those numbers and you can see how that can get very overwhelming if you're just trying to cast a wide net and see what happens. You will likely not result in any sort of immediate contract opportunity. In the private sector, there's money that you could pursue at private corporations. Those are the large pharmaceuticals, the Verizons, and let's hope Pfizer starts to give back a little bit from all the, I don't know how much money they're making on some of these things that they're doing now. But private corporations have their corporate citizenship programs and their supplier diversity programs. Most of the time it's on their websites, and it's something you can easily access. Colleges and universities is something that most people never think about, okay? Colleges have their own ecosystem. They own a lot of real estate. They have built-in customers with their students. They are very often building, renovating, purchasing, all that other great stuff. I can tell you for sure that Kean University has the first Black president of a university here in New Jersey, and he is very, very focused on creating opportunities for small businesses at Kean University in Union County. Community colleges are similar but separate. So colleges and universities and community colleges, different networks, different places. Nonprofits, people rarely think of nonprofits. Guess what? Government provides some services. In a lot of instances, if they're not providing the services directly, nonprofits are providing that. Foundations are a place that you can reach out and try to secure work. Yes, foundations are usually collecting money, but they also are a form of an enterprise, and they do have to spend money to continue running. They are doing printing, they are doing advertising, they're doing all the things that a business does. It just so happens that their main business is the collection of funds for a purpose. Health and hospital networks, especially with all these urgent centers, everything is a network now. A lot of times you can tie into a hospital network and get a pretty substantial amount of work since they're all related and coordinating together. And of course, there's other specialized industries that we could talk about in a little later. Hope I'm not blowing anyone's head up. We're halfway through, I promise. I'm trying to make this as it is a complicated topic, but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. So procurement differences between private and government. These are key differences that you should know as you start to think about your strategy. So we're going back again to certification strategy. We have now approximately 800 doors that we can go through. And how in the heck are we going to whittle that down to something that is manageable? Well, here are some key things that you should take into account as you create that certification strategy. First and foremost, the government is highly regulated. That means anything that they purchase must be public. There is a very specific way that they purchase things. There are required forms that you have to provide, required insurances that you have to have, and a lot of different things, usually governed by purchasing law, both in that county, municipality, and for the state. In the private sector, it's completely the opposite. It's virtually unregulated for small to medium-sized businesses, unless it's a very large contract or some sort of joint venture. There's not a lot of regulation that they have to find. So many people that are doing business with the private sector that then want to do business with government, they go through a little bit of a frustrating adjustment period because they're used to meeting with someone over a drink, over lunch, and business is conducted and landed with a handshake, with an email, and even the payment terms are much more immediate. So when they go to government and they try to connect with a purchasing agent, they find that they cannot access that person. They cannot invite them to lunch. They cannot give them a pencil. Okay, and that's because they want to make sure that everything is being done ethically. They are government, they're not private sector. Government is governed by state and local laws, mandatory documents, cost proposals that are incurred up front. Okay, it follows a set process, as I mentioned before, and it usually requires work to be completed before payment. And there's longer payment processes. If you want to do business with the government, you need to be able to float the work that you provide for 30 to 90 days, because that is approximately the payment period. In different presentations and webinars, I'm sure that the SBDC network has provided a lot of information about different loan products that you can use to take on that work without too much aggravation. On the private sector side, securing the work can happen with a handshake, and there's more flexible payment options like retainers, like wired funds, and things like that. For the most part, that doesn't exist in government yet, but I will tell you that the pandemic has changed the game quite a bit. I'm still getting used to seeing government officials and so forth on Zoom, which is something we never used to see. So we can be hopeful that they'll adopt some private sector habits. So certification as a procurement strategy, you continue to hear me throughout part 1 and part 2 about certification strategy and the importance of it. At the SBDC Center, we help our businesses not only get certified, but come up with a strategy or the why as to why they're getting the certification. And you get it because it helps reduce competition through set-asides and competitive environments where you are competing with similar businesses, similar size businesses, businesses that have similar capabilities. That's how we can help you kind of get your foot in the door and start growing. So you can qualify for several things: free trainings and workshops, specific to certified businesses. For example, the African American Chamber of Commerce has a bonding program. Certified companies are prioritized in that program. You have access to capital. So of course you can get a loan on your own. Just like the voucher system that I spoke about earlier, there are a lot of community lending organizations and even bank programs that, again, will prioritize those certifications to make sure that they're giving opportunities to underrepresented businesses. And of course, you get access to pre-bid resources, and that is things like insurance, bonding, waived fees, etc. For example, veterans can get their disabled veteran-owned business certification for no fee. And thankfully this year, thanks to the Chief Diversity Officer and all the chambers that were working very strongly to push for that, there's also no fee for certifying now. It's all online. There is no out-of-pocket cost. All it costs is your time. And of course, with New Jersey spending, for those who say there's really no money in certification, as I mentioned earlier, New Jersey State is spending in the billions. We don't know what percentage they're going to set for that. Corporations spend millions. small businesses, business to business work, you can earn hundreds of thousands. Many people do not think about just the mere fact of networking with other minority businesses sometimes lands you that client. They provide the service that you need, and you guys become your own sort of network and referral system. And of course, there's county government and municipalities, and they're spending in the thousands. And with all this additional funding, that is looking like it's going to increase with the infrastructure spending. So we mentioned this before, but we always have to continue to mention it. Getting certified is just the beginning. Here are some things that you should consider doing as part of your certification strategy or planning. You want to create a business development plan that is different than your business plan. A business plan is generally used to get loans, partners, or investors. Sometimes you're looking to access a certain program, or you're looking to lay out, you're looking to kind of flesh out what exactly your business is now and where your business is going. It's almost like a vision document that's going to clearly show people how you're going to grow, how you're going to pick up new clients, what makes you different from other services or products, etc. A business development plan is something that you can easily create on a single sheet of paper, and it's just a few things that you're looking to do. So for 2022, you'd want to know how much revenue you would like to secure, maybe $100,000 a year, maybe $300,000 a year. You divide that by the number of months that you're actually going to be providing your service or selling your product. Could be year round, could be 10 months. Why do we emphasize that? What we find with small businesses is you are usually the worst boss to yourself that you can ever have. Even in your planning, you do not give yourself vacation. You do not anticipate sickness. You do not anticipate anything going wrong whatsoever. And that will directly affect how much revenue you can actually bring down. Once you figure out how much money you need to be producing per month, then it's a very simple formula. You're going to make a list of all the services or products you provide, what their average costs are, almost like a package or some sort. And then you're going to create a little plan for yourself and say, I have to sell 10 of package A, 5 of package B, and 3 of package C in order to hit my monthly revenue goal. These sort of simple plans that we help people go through really helps you see if you're really on track every quarter. You'll be able to look at your revenue and quickly see I am falling short or I'm doing well this month or this quarter. So that's what a business development plan is. You want to use your certification to diversify your client pool, meaning use your certification to connect with places that you otherwise never connected with. That is the key purpose of the certification, to get you in front of people that are not familiar with your goods or services. You still have to provide a superior product or service. You have to be in compliance with mandatory business documents. So you have to do your homework about what that organization, private or government, requires before you even jump into the arena and try to secure a contract with them. I think Christian will agree with me when I say file your taxes, file your taxes, file your taxes. We can't say file your taxes enough. Every single consultant has had a conversation with a business saying file your taxes. Do not let your accountant dictate how your taxes will be filed for you. You have a specific plan for your business. You have certain things that you want to try to accomplish. I will not beat a dead horse, but what I will tell you is, if you know that your business is not making money on paper, then no one is going to lend you money. And that, I know that when it's your business, we tend to get a little emotional. I know that I do, because your business is synonymous with you. But just keep in mind that these other businesses are looking to take a risk, a calculated risk on you, and lend you this money, but they need to see how they're going to get the money back. So if you have an accountant that says, hey, I'm going to save you some money on taxes, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing illegal with that. Just understand that if you don't pay the adequate taxes, showing that you're making a profit, You will not be able to take on any loans, and in some instances, some resources that is going to stifle or slow down your ability to grow. You will still be a business, you'll still bring in money, but you'll continue to ask yourself, why do I keep breaking even and I don't quite get ahead? That's really the trick there. You want to keep up with your annual renewals on certifications. When you get your certification, every year you need to make an annual renewal and certify that you have not sold the company, some other corporate company has not purchased you, that you are in fact still owned and controlled by a minority woman, veteran, or small business. And make sure that you can secure work before you pursue certification. Again, certification is not a silver bullet. You just because you got the certification, if you were not making money before the certification, if you do nothing different, you still will not be making money with the certification. You'll just have a pretty certification, and we establish that your mom or father does not want that document. They're not interested in it. We've mostly talked about the Department of Treasury certification, which is the first bullet right here. But I want you to know that the reason the word certification is surrounded by so much confusion is because in the state of New Jersey, you could have anywhere from 25 to 30 active certifications, meaning certifications that you could pursue in the state of New Jersey outside of the one that the Department of Treasury provides. The simplest way to describe certifications is they usually create them when there is funding to be provided behind them. So here are a few examples of that. So the state of New Jersey provides a certification because counties have set-asides and the state of New Jersey has set-asides. They have money. Port Authority of New York and New Jersey also have money and budgets. And so they have their own certification process so that you can access those funds. So does New Jersey Transit. So does the U.S. Small Business Administration, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, and for private company certifications, a nonprofit called New York, New Jersey Minority Supplier Diversity Council, which is part of a national network. So joining them allows you to pursue companies such as Coca-Cola that obviously are far beyond the borders of just the United States. So now we could definitely say that you could start to think about, is certification something I need to do now or not? Does it work for me? You've definitely learned about different certification types. There are 4, there are 5 actually in the state of New Jersey, if you include disabled veteran. And you've also seen that there's other certification organization types. The specialty team or anybody at the SBDC can help you with other types of certifications. And if you're one of those companies that was hoping to hear about 8A, 8A probably needs its own presentation on its own, but you can schedule a meeting with a consultant who could walk you through if that's the right match for you for 8A certification. You have an understanding now of what diversity goals are and how it affects you and your business, who your customer is now, which is government or private. We talked about those things. We also discussed the differences between private and public sector opportunities. Private sector is a little bit faster to attain, but requires much stronger relationships. Government also requires relationships, but is more about meeting minimum requirements and mandatory requirements to bid. Usually provides a lot more opportunity, believe it or not. It's something that I think everyone on this webinar should be looking into. And finally, and most importantly, and I hope everybody starts to do that this month, creating a certification procurement strategy, or, you know, really thinking about who it is that you're going to pursue. So we're almost done, folks, but here's a couple of other things I want to say that are related to certification. Please figure out what you would like to specialize in. Everybody wants to do business with someone who is a specialist in something. Do not be a jack of all trades. For example, we have had companies come to us that are saying that they make steel beams and hangers for the cleaners. There's no way that's pretty wide of a service. So try to specialize. Make sure that you register on purchasing portals, and that's what they're called. If you want to Google a specific city or town, that is what they call that. Those are the mechanisms by which they post opportunities on purchasing portals and small business procurement websites. You can pay for this service, but I will tell you that if you have the time, most of the purchasing portals are free. I can tell you for sure Hudson, Essex County, and Mercer County are free. You want to identify certifications that best meet your business development strategies. Maybe the Department of Treasury one is not the best one for you, but right now it is probably the lowest cost one and easiest to attain. So I always tell people to try to start there before they start getting their feet wet in the certification arena. Upfront, identify loan products. Prepare yourself with your financial professional or with an SBDC consultant. You know you want to do business with government. You've now heard Rafael tell you that it could take 30 to 90 days to get paid. Start having those conversations with bankers before you get the contract. Do not think that because you show up to the bank with a letter that says that you have $1.5 million on a piece of paper and a letter that they get excited about that. They do not. They do not get excited. They say you have a piece of paper that says $1.5 million. That's what they'll tell you. You might get upset about it. So avoid that. Have the conversation ahead of time and just tell them, sir or ma'am, what is the path for me to be bankable, get a credit line, do this level of business? What do I need to do to get there? And obviously identify insurance and bond requirements. That's something you should be doing in advance. Don't wait till the last minute. I've seen that a lot of times where people lose contract opportunities because they wait until the last minute. They really don't think they're a contender. Most of the time, they don't believe us at all that certifications actually lead to contracts. And then, perfect example, I had a business right around December of the year. They were going to be contracted in January, and now they were scrambling during Christmas and New Year's week to try to get their certifications and insurances and all that other stuff. There was a happy ending to that one, but I think you all understand what could happen easily if you would have showed up come January 1st. Without those things, he probably would have lost, probably over $1 million for that. You want to also identify state and county and municipal offices that provide resources and services. That's constant. And you can see that Christian starts these webinars all the time by updating you guys on what some of the latest resources are. So if for no other reason, make sure that you go to as many of these as possible, because you can always learn about new resources that you may qualify for. There's a lot of help that the government provides. Honestly, we're probably not the best marketers of that because most people are busy trying to help those businesses. But the SBDC does do a good job of getting the word out. So just connect with us on social media and so forth. The next one, obviously, use social media to stay connected and to promote your products. I can't tell you I'm a social media guru, but I will tell you those businesses that choose to ignore social media will be dinosaurs soon enough. That is how people promote things now, video and social media. Remember to plan, then act. Avoid analysis paralysis. Stop saying, I'm going to plan next month. Stop saying, I'll do it next year. Stop avoiding planning out your year, your quarter, or any of that stuff. If you fly by the seat of your pants, you will get what you get. That's basically it. You'll get what you get. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe you won't. But why do you want to take that chance? Make a plan so that your success is highly likely. And of course, attend networking events for your industry. Don't hide behind your computer. Don't make excuses about, well, I work too many hours and I just can't make any time for networking. Networking is how you find new businesses, how you find new resources. And with all the technology that we have, personal connection still produces the fastest contracts. And usually that's in person. Zoom has made it a little better, but you still, as it's allowed, you still should be looking to try to connect to new networks and things like that. And Christian, I will give the floor back to you. I think I've already probably put everybody to sleep with all this stuff, but I'm open to any questions that you might see in chat. If you want to open up questions to anyone else via another format, I'm here.
Yeah, let's do it. So I just want to clarify a question that we got before from Helen, where her certification expired and she wanted some help with that. So we have an event December 2nd,
Right.
where we're going to help some people with their certification, but you need to be qualified. If you have a question on how to be qualified, you need to have your required documents pretty much set in order. So for that, please email capital.team@njsbdc.com, capital.team@njsbdc.com to ask a question about the December 2nd event, and ask if you're qualified to attend.
And Chris, just as a general comment to anyone else that might be in the situation, if all that is required is an annual certification, you should be able to log into the website using the same login credentials that you did to apply, and it should automatically route you to a page that will allow you to click 2 boxes, confirm, and that's all it takes. That's your annual certification. So if you got the certification back when it was done by paper, which was only a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, wasn't that long ago, understand that it's all automated now. So if you have a login or you can get a login, you can very likely handle your own issue in 5 to 10 minutes. But as Chris said, email the Capital team if you're confused about it. Worst case scenario, someone can jump on Zoom and walk you through that and get you to the finish line.
Awesome. So before we get into, we have 4 questions, but before we get into that, and by the way, please submit more questions if you have any. I want to make sure everyone understands that, like Rafael mentioned, that once you get the certification, now you have to start doing marketing and sales to your target audience, right? And I only know that I'm the marketing consultant. So that's why that's important. So it doesn't stop at certification, it begins, right? So let's get into one of these questions. Gina asks, can you provide a link about the EV voucher?
Oh, sure. I could actually. You're talking about the electric vehicles with the state of New Jersey?
Yep. I believe that one's
I'm just going to stop sharing if that's all right.
Sure.
And I'll try to do. You can continue with the rest of the questions. I will try to get the direct link and post it in the chat to everybody. But NJEDA is providing that, and the name of the program is NJZip. The NJZip.
Awesome. So we're going to drop that into the chat, everyone. Just make sure you look for that. And all right, so Tracy asks, I'm already certified in New Jersey as a WBE. Can you please tell me where the opportunities are listed?
So the question for that is more, where do you want to pursue opportunities? Okay. I'm sorry, you already had put it on there. When we were talking about the strategy, if you really have no idea whatsoever what to do with the certification, I would try to connect with an SBDC consultant and identify prior to that meeting what county, what city, what college, what private sector company, who do you want to work with? Because that's where you begin. You may like the company Verizon, and you may say to yourself, I really want to do business with Verizon. You may like Pfizer as a pharmaceutical, and you know that they have a diversity program. You may live in Bergen County, and you may say to yourself, I want to see if I can sell something to Bergen County. So you have to come up with a short list of at least 4 or 5 places that you want to work with, and then we can more specifically tell you where the opportunities are. It's a big misnomer to think that that there's just like a pile of contracts that they actually put aside. The way it really works is every single organization has goals that they set for the year, monetary and number of contracts. And so it's an ongoing process every year of engaging that business and figuring out, do you spend in the commodity or the industry that I'm in how much do you spend and when do you put those RFPs out? I know some of these local areas are actually putting out reports on their website as to how much and when they spend on those different things. So I know that's not the answer you were looking for, but we need a little more information because as I said earlier, there's 800 possible doors, possibly more in the state of New Jersey. I would have to list all of them on this call, and I'm sure that you just don't have the bandwidth of the staff to engage all 800 touch points in New Jersey. That's just government. I mean, you know, private sector, I mean, we get into the thousands.
Jeez. Yeah, just quick tips, guys. You know, figure out who your target audience is. Actually, first figure out what you want to serve, right? Then make a list of those people that would most likely hire you or give you a contract for that service, product or service. And then you're making an Excel sheet. One column is the people, next column is the contact, next column are the portals. That's it. All right, Sabrina asks, what kind of certifications would work with a tobacco retail / delivery business?
All of them, honestly. What I would tell you is, in the state of New Jersey, if you were going to do business with government, veterans get the lowest amount of contracts. So they're prioritized at the top because they're getting the least. Women-owned business second, minorities third, and then SBE fourth. DVOB gets almost nothing. That's disabled veteran owned. So certifications and the type of industry, there's no benefit. There's no certification that benefits a specific industry. What you want to think about is which certification is going to prioritize you. And what I mean by that is maybe you're a minority and a woman and a veteran. So you've noticed that the person you want to do business with, they really prioritize veteran certification. So that's part of the strategy. So you can get all three, but with that client, you would lead in with your veteran certification and say, I'm veteran certified, and I see that you guys are prioritizing veterans. You want to do more business with veterans. So it goes back to what I said earlier. First, identify who you want to sell to, find out what their priorities are, and then lead with that certification. If you only have one certification, then there's not a lot of decisions to make. You want to just connect with people that are prioritizing your woman-owned or your minority-owned.
Awesome. So Tracy asks, is there something like the SAM database for New Jersey?
There is something like the SAM database. The Department of Treasury has, wow, I forgot off the top of my head right now. They do have a website that lists all the certified businesses. I have to get back to you on that one. I have to see if I look that one up as we answer other questions. But essentially all it does is same as sam.gov. It's a reservoir for all the businesses that got certified to the Department of Treasury so that government agencies and private sector can look up businesses there to see if you're certified and to see if you're active. So yes, they have something. Let me see what it's called while we move to the next question.
All right. Juanita asks, as a minority / woman certified call center, how can I receive the list of potential companies looking for work?
I always recommend that you look into the portals, as I mentioned earlier. But if what you're looking for is something more automated, you'll probably end up having to pay for something like BidMatch or BidNet or something like that. If what you're looking for is someone to look through the opportunities for you. But before anyone spends money, what I would recommend is that you go to Hudson, Bergen, Essex, and Mercer on their websites, on their purchasing portals, and register there. It's free. You're going to be able to look at current bids and old bids. And what I usually do with our SBDC clients is I would have people identify non-live bids or past bids that have already closed out, because you'll still get access to it. That allows you to download that opportunity and begin to craft a response based on that opportunity. And the reason I say that is because in government, these documents don't change much at all. So about 80% of the document is mandatory documents and insurances and all these it's a collection of attachments more than what the scope is. You'll find that the scope of work might be 2 pages, 3 pages, 1 page, and that can easily be changed and inserted. But if you go in there, you're going to see the bid opportunity. It's going to tell you the sort of things that you need to prepare to have a successful bid. And once you create that you can always, again, sign up for counseling through the SBDC, ask somebody who's a specialist in that area, myself, as well as there's other specialists, to look at your bid and give you feedback as to what things might not be, up to par and where you can improve. So sign up to those 4 county portals. Also sign up to NJ Start, which is the New Jersey state portal. That one's a little more non-user friendly, but if you wanted to see opportunities right away for free and you wanted to say, I want to do business with government, that's where you go. As far as private sector, there's no centralized way to do that. You basically just have to go to the Coca-Cola website, to the Pepsi website, to whatever it is, Five Guys website, look for supplier diversity or doing business with or anything like that, and see what sort of programs and stuff that they have out there. It really is a lot of research that you're going to have to do to figure out who you want to pursue, but it is worth it. A lot of people, have more than half of their revenue coming from these certifications.
Awesome. So we have, let's see, we have about 4 minutes and maybe like 8 questions left. Okay. So we have David asks, how do we gain assistance with greater penetration into customers that we already have? Sounds like a marketing question.
Yeah, that does sound like a marketing question. On the certification end, I don't think that any information I could provide really would help with that question. I would email SBDC on that one, because it does sound like a marketing strategy. Remember, certification is just a sliver, it's just a portion of your marketing strategy. There's documents that are usually called capability statements. Some of you may know about this, some of you may not. If you do business with government, you'll need to have one of those. And on that tool, you would list your certifications, your national NAICS codes, NAICS, a whole bunch of other information. It's like a 1-page resume for your business. That would be the beginning, I would say, highlighting the certification as part of what you do and who you are.
Yeah.
And by the way, for that earlier question, Chris, it's NJ Savvy. It is the searchable New Jersey state website. I'm actually going to post it right in the chat for everyone.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So yeah, David, if you want to, learn how to increase your customer LTV, long-term value, reach out to the NJSBDC. If you're not registered yet, go to njsbdc.com/request-counseling. We drop all the links in the chat. If you're already registered, just ask your SBDC center for marketing assistance. So Tony asks, does social media marketing at this time have any influence on the government purchaser?
I have to tell you, not any direct influence, but I will tell you that you'd be surprised how many government employees, purchasing officials and stuff like that are actually watching social media. It is an indirect form of influencing and kind of staying in the minds of the people that are purchasing things, especially if you happen to be a very good storyteller around your products. People tend to emotionally get vested into stories, and it's a little more memorable. But I'm going to say government generally stays away from social media. They're still making posts that look like old newspapers. There's a lot of time. There is a lot of there's room for improvement. However, they are consumers of social media. So just because you're not seeing a lot of effort being put out and putting information out via social media, it's not the most creative way. They do consume it. They do see it. They are following feeds. So keep in mind, You want to make sure that you're sharing information that you want there. And you want to make sure that no negative information, that they're going to see both ends of that. So
100%, 100%. All right, so David asks, I'm not certified, but I have vendor relationships with publicly owned airline catering division, but only called for Soul Food Days and Black History Month. And same scenario with a major New Jersey hospital network. I guess the follow-up to that is, are there lists of New Jersey companies or organizations that have made equity commitments? And are there points of contact you can assist with?
So here's what I would recommend. And I work with all the major chambers of commerce. This is an instance where you want to connect with chambers of commerce. You're talking about private companies. You want to get in front of decision makers about how much they spend. You want them to expand the amount of spending they do outside of those holidays. When you get in front of that decision maker, that's going to be difficult without a chamber of commerce relationship. Okay. What you want to do is start to ask questions about what their supplier diversity plans are, what their spending budgets are for the year. And then I would encourage you to get certified, because that's going to be a much more comfortable conversation for them. When you speak to people that have supplier diversity programs and they're looking at your certification, you want to step into the ring and say, I'm a solution to meet your spending goal for whatever it is, minority, women, small. That's usually the best way to lead in with these certifications. So if you want them to spend more, find out if they already have a supplier diversity program, get certified, be part of that. Most of the time that will grow your contract by double and triple by itself. Keep in mind, these purchasing people are under pressure. The CEO, the leadership will say, you need to meet these goals. If you're coming to them saying, hey, I'm your solution, not only can I provide and have a relationship with you, I have this certification, I'll count towards your goals. So that's the attitude that you kind of have to have when you pursue your certification, how you can be a solution for their corporate, social, and corporate citizenship programs.
Cool. Can we take two more questions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's your show, sir.
All right. So Marshall asks, does women-owned mean they own at least 51% of the LLC? And does the women need to own and be active in the services delivery?
Yes, all the way across the board. The best example that I can give is the World Trade Center, where there was an enormous amount of fraud. What a lot of people don't realize is it wasn't the construction aspect that slowed the building of that. It was all of the certification participation programs and trying to keep that all straight that kept having that project stop, go. So the quick answer to that is any certification is saying that the person owns and controls and operates that business. So you have to own 51% on paper or more, and you have to be part of the actual day-to-day operations, or at least understand what's going on. So things have happened in the past where additional information is required, or they have some sort of an interview, especially with women-owned businesses, because it's very well known that a husband may put his wife as it, but she's not actually in the business at all. So if they call you or they have an exchange and you're a construction company and they ask that woman who's supposed to own the majority of the company, how much lumber did you purchase last year? What was your rent? And she doesn't know any of that. She has to keep checking with someone else. You automatically fail that certification. Doesn't matter what the certifying entity is. So when you're thinking about certification, don't fudge on any of that stuff. Don't get creative, or that most likely you will fit one of the categories, at least small. It's not worth it to represent yourself as one thing and then find out later on after you've gotten contracts that, this is a benefit. You're getting a competitive edge. You can get in a lot of trouble in the form of having to pay it back, really, is where and get canceled and stuff. So yeah, women-owned, anything it is, has to be 51% or more.
Awesome. I think part of that answer answered this next question. which is, as a Black woman, do I have to apply for 2 separate certifications, or are the categories combined into one?
So what the state has done wonderfully in this year is they have combined it into one. So it is all online. It is a single application. If you are all 4 certifications, you will get all 4 certifications. In your specific case, yours will be combined into a minority women business enterprise certificate. It is a single certificate that functions as a woman-owned certification and a minority certification in one document. You would be able to bid on any opportunity that is looking for women only, minority only, or minority women. You'd be able to come in with that same one and say, I qualify.
Awesome. So that was all of our questions. As always, Rafael, you're a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you, sir. It's great to work with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go ahead and share my screen because we have something interesting for next week. So next week, we take a little holiday leave. So next week, we don't have a NJ Thrives Thursday, but we have an NJ Thrives Tuesday. So make sure you look out for that this Tuesday, the one coming up. But next week is Happy Thanksgiving to everyone and Shop Small. So we want to get everyone ready for that. Of course, we mentioned in the headlines, Amex does their nationwide campaign, and you could obviously take advantage of the materials that they provide everyone, discounts, all that good stuff. So for next week, starting on Monday, we're going to be spotlighting some of our entrepreneurs across the state. So make sure you're following us on social media. I'm going to go ahead and put this here on the screen. Take a picture, use that maybe for later. Make sure you're following us, because not only are we going to spotlight entrepreneurs, but we also put some information there, quick tips, motivational stuff. We have Motivation Mondays because we know Mondays could be a drag. So make sure you're following us. And that said, we're the NJSBDC. We've helped over 13,000 small businesses, no cost business consulting, training and events starting at $0, exclusive small business resources. If you want to get started, go ahead to njsbdc.com/request-counseling. That's it for me. Thanks again, Rafael. And
My pleasure. Yeah. We're here.
We're here and we're staying.
That's right.
See everyone, not next week, but the following one. Bye.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. Bye.